welcome. This is a quiet historical story, told slowly. There's nothing you need to imagine, remember, or follow closely. You can simply listen or let the words drift past as you rest. The story begins in its own time, and it will continue whether you stay awake or not. The door closes behind him with a sound that travels through the wood and brass. A deep, solid thud that seems to settle into the frame, into the walls, into the very structure of the carriage itself. His hands remain on the handle for a moment longer than necessary, feeling the cool metal beneath his palms, feeling the slight give as the latch engages fully, as the mechanism finds its place and holds. The door fits tight against its seal, and the cold air from the platform is shut away now, left behind with the noise and the voices and the last calls of the station master fading into the night. He stands just inside, motionless, breathing in the warmth that fills this narrow space. The air is different here, denser, enclosed, layered with scents that belong to this place. Paper, first and most prominently. The dry, slightly sweet smell of thousands of letters and parcels stacked in their canvas sacks, waiting. Ink comes next, not fresh but settled, the ghost of 1,000 pen strokes and postmarks absorbed into wood and fabric over years of service. Leather, too, from the mailbags hanging along the walls, their surfaces worn smooth and supple, smelling faintly of oil and use. And beneath it all, a metallic warmth, the scent of the oil lamps, their brass bodies holding heat, their glass chimneys clean and glowing softly in the dimness. The train begins to move. It is subtle at first, felt more than seen. A slight shift in weight, a gentle pull that travels up through the soles of his boots, through the floorboards beneath his feet. The carriage rocks almost imperceptibly, finding its rhythm on the rails, and his body adjusts without thought, without effort. His knees unlock slightly. His weight settles more evenly. His stance widens just enough to meet the sway, to become part of the motion rather than resist it. The floor beneath him is wooden, solid, the boards laid lengthwise down the carriage and worn smooth by years of footsteps, by the constant back and forth of sorters, moving between frames and sacks, their route traced into the grain itself. He can feel the vibration now. It is the sound of wheels on rails made tangible, made physical, a low frequency that exists more as sensation than noise, constant and unchanging. The walls around him are paneled in dark wood, varnished until they gleam faintly in the lamplight. They too seem to hum with the train's movement, as if the vibration has seeped into every plank and joint, as if the entire carriage breathes with the rhythm of forward motion. Small brass fixtures catch the light. Hooks for hanging coats and bags, handles for steadying oneself when the train curves or breaks, all of them polished and familiar. Along both sides of the carriage, the sorting frames stand ready. Tall wooden structures with rows of pigeonholes, each one labeled in neat white paint, each one waiting to receive its allotted letters. The frames are built into the walls, secured firmly so they will not shift with the motion, and the pigeonholes are deep and shadow-filled, empty for now, patient. Canvas sacks hang from hooks beneath the frames, their mouths held open by metal rings, their bodies slack and waiting to be filled. The lamps sway gently overhead, suspended from the ceiling by short chains that allow them to move with the carriage, to find their own equilibrium. Their light is warm and steady, not bright but sufficient, casting soft pools of amber across the sorting frames, across the empty work table that runs down the center of the space, across the mailbags piled at the far end near the larger sacks marked for different stations, different routes. Beyond the walls, muffled but present, the sounds of the train continue. The chuff and hiss of the locomotive somewhere ahead, the rhythmic clatter of wheels, the occasional shriek of a whistle cutting through the night. But inside this carriage, those sounds are distant, softened by wood and space, becoming part of the background, part of the steady pulse that marks time not in minutes, but in miles, in the slow accumulation of distance covered, of work to be done. He stands in the warmth and the lamplight, feeling the train beneath him, breathing in the scent of paper and ink and leather. The first mailbag hangs nearest to the door, its canvas body heavy and full. The drawstring pulled tight and knotted at the top. He reaches for it with both hands, feeling the rough texture of the fabric against his palms, feeling the weight shift as he lifts it down from its hook. The bag is substantial, and it settles against his chest as he carries it the few steps to the work table, the contents shifting inside with a soft, muffled rustle. He sets it down on the table's scarred surface. The bag sits heavily, sagging slightly to one side, and he works the knot loose with his fingers, pulling the cord free, feeling the hemp slide through itself until the mouth of the bag opens wide. Inside, the letters are bundled in thick stacks, tied with twine, each bundle perhaps 50 or 60 envelopes deep. He reaches in and draws out the first one, feeling the weight of it in his hand. Not heavy, but dense, compact, the paper pressed together tightly. The twine is rough under his fingertips as he unties it, letting the string fall away, letting the bundle spread slightly as it relaxes. The top letter is addressed in black ink, the handwriting slanted and precise. He reads the direction without thinking, the words registering automatically. A street name, a town, a county. His hand moves to the sorting frame, to the pigeonhole labeled with that same county, and he slides the letter in. The paper makes a soft, whispering sound as it enters the slot. A gentle shush of edge against wood, of envelope against envelope already waiting there. He takes the next letter, reads, places. The motion is smooth, economical, his hand traveling the same path from bundle to frame, from table to wall, over and over. Each letter slides into its designated space with that same quiet sound. Paper on wood, a whisper and a settling, a small completion that asks for nothing more. The train rocks gently beneath him, and his body sways with it, his weight shifting from one foot to the other without conscious thought. The rhythm of the rails is constant, a pulse that runs through the floor and up through his legs, and his movements adapt to it, fitting themselves into the spaces between the sway, working with the motion rather than against it. Another letter, another address. His eyes scan the words, his hand finds the correct slot. The paper slides home. The pile on the table diminishes slowly, steadily, letter by letter, and the pigeonholes begin to fill, their depths no longer empty but accumulating, building layers of correspondence that will be carried through the night to waiting stations, waiting hands. The sound of his breathing is quiet, barely audible beneath the constant low rumble of the train. In, out, steady and even. His hands move in rhythm with it. Lift, read, place. Lift, read, place. The motions are so practiced that they require almost no thought, almost no attention. His fingers know the weight of a letter, know how to hold it without crushing, how to release it so it falls cleanly into its slot. The lamplight shifts slightly as the carriage moves, the flames inside their glass chimneys flickering just barely, casting shadows that lengthen and shorten across the sorting frame, across his hands. The wood of the frame is warm where the light touches it, cool in the shadows between pigeonholes. He reaches the end of the first bundle and sets the empty twine aside. A small coil of hemp that he places on the edge of the table. The second bundle comes out of the mailbag, tied just as tightly, just as neat. He unties it, feels the letters spread in his hand, begins again. Lift, read, place. The same soft sound of paper sliding into wood. The same quiet accumulation. The train's whistle sounds somewhere ahead, a long, mournful note that carries through the night and filters through the walls, muffled but clear. He does not pause. His hands continue their work, continue their steady rhythm, and the whistle fades back into the general noise of wheels and steam and forward motion. Another bundle, another set of addresses. London, Manchester, Leeds. His eyes take in the words, his mind translates them to pigeonholes. His hands deliver each letter to its proper place. The sorting frame is filling now. Some slots holding thick stacks, others only a few pieces. The distribution is uneven, dictated by chance and correspondence, by who has written to whom, by the patterns of connection that spread across the country in ink and paper. The first mailbag is empty now, its canvas sides collapsed inward, shapeless. He lifts it from the table. It weighs almost nothing without its contents, and carries it back to its hook, draping it over the brass fitting, letting it hang limp and waiting. The hook takes the weight easily, and the bag settles against the wall with a soft exhalation of air from its folds. The second mailbag is already in his hands, lifted down, carried to the table. This one is slightly lighter, the drawstring easier to untie. He opens it and reaches inside, drawing out another bundle, another collection of letters bound with twine. The string slides free under his fingers, and he begins again. Lift, read, place. The paper whispers against wood. The train rocks. His weight shifts. The lamp flames burn steady and warm. Each letter is distinct. Different handwriting, different ink, different paper weights and textures. Some envelopes are thick and creamy, expensive. Others are thin, almost translucent, the writing showing through faintly from the folded pages inside. His fingers register these differences without dwelling on them, without judgment. Each letter receives the same attention, the same care, the same quiet placement into its designated slot. The second bundle empties. The third comes out of the bag. The twine is untied, the letters spread, the work continues. His shoulders are relaxed, his breathing even. The rhythm has settled into him now, has become part of the motion of the train, part of the gentle sway and rock, part of the steady forward progress through the dark countryside beyond the walls. Paper slides against wood, again and again. The sound is soft, repetitive, almost musical in its constancy, a quiet percussion that marks the passing of work, the slow transformation of chaos into order, of mixed correspondence into sorted roots. The pigeonholes continue to fill. The ledger rests on a narrow shelf beneath the sorting frame, its leather cover dark and worn smooth at the corners where hands have gripped it, have opened and closed it, day after day, night after night. He lifts it carefully, feeling the weight of it. Substantial, the pages thick and numerous, and carries it to the work table, setting it down with precision, aligning its edges parallel to the table's front edge, squaring it so that it sits exactly centered in the space before him. The cover opens with a faint creak of binding, the spine flexing as the pages fall to one side, revealing lined paper marked with columns, date, origin, destination, description, signature. The lines are printed in pale blue ink, perfectly straight, and the pages that have already been filled show rows of handwriting, each entry neat and uniform, each one a record of passage, of accountability, of items entrusted and delivered. He turns to the next empty page, the paper clean and waiting, and smooths it flat with one hand, feeling the slight texture of the stock beneath his palm. The page lies open, held in place by the weight of the filled pages on one side, the blank pages on the other, and the lamplight falls across it evenly, illuminating the columns without glare, without shadow. The inkwell sits in a brass holder fixed to the edge of the table, secured so it will not tip with the motion of the train. The well itself is glass, dark and faceted, and through its sides he can see the level of ink inside, black, glossy, 3/4 full. The pen rests in a shallow groove beside it, a simple wooden holder with a steel nib, the metal clean and ready. He reaches for the pen, his fingers closing around the smooth wood, and lifts it. The nib catches the lamplight for a moment, a tiny gleam of polished steel, and then he lowers it into the inkwell, dipping it just deep enough to fill the reservoir, not so deep that excess will flood the nib. The ink is cool, slightly thick, and when he withdraws the pen, a small bead clings to the tip. He touches the nib to the edge of the inkwell, a brief contact that draws away the excess, leaving just enough ink to write cleanly, to form letters without bleeding or pooling. The motion is automatic, practiced, and the small sound of metal tapping glass is precise and delicate. The first registered item sits beside the ledger, a thick envelope sealed with red wax, the seal impressed with a crest he does not examine closely. The envelope is addressed in formal script, the letters tall and elegant, and a registration number is written in the upper corner in different ink, stamped and initialed at the post office of origin. He reads the number, then lowers the nib to the ledger page. The pen touches paper and ink flows. The first stroke is vertical, clean, the line forming without hesitation. He writes the number carefully, each digit formed with deliberate attention, each curve and line given the space it requires. The nib makes a faint scratching sound as it moves across the paper, a soft whisper of metal on fiber, and the ink darkens immediately as it soaks into the page. The train rocks beneath him, a gentle sway to the left, and his hand moves with it, his wrist adjusting minutely to keep the line straight, to maintain the spacing. The compensation is unconscious, built into muscle and habit, and the writing remains even, unaffected by the motion. He completes the number and moves to the next column, origin. He reads the postmark on the envelope, noting the town and date, and transcribes them into the ledger. Each letter is formed with the same care, the same attention. Capital letters are slightly taller. Descenders drop precisely below the line. Spacing between words is consistent. The pen lifts and dips, and the columns fill with information rendered permanent, made official by ink and record. The destination column receives the address. His eyes move between envelope and ledger, carrying the words across the small distance, translating sight into script. The ink continues to flow smoothly, the nib releasing it in measured amounts, and the handwriting marches across the page in neat, disciplined rows. The description is simple. One envelope, sealed, registered. He writes this in abbreviated form, using the standard notations, and then moves to the final column, where his signature will verify that he has received the item, that he has taken responsibility for its transit through this stage of its journey. Before signing, he sets the pen down in its groove, the nib resting on a small felt pad to prevent the remaining ink from drying. He picks up the envelope again, turning it in his hands, examining the seal more closely without touching the wax itself. The seal is intact, unbroken, the impression clear and sharp. He checks the flap, running his thumb along the edge, feeling for any looseness, any sign of tampering. The envelope is sound. He sets it aside to his left, starting a new stack, a pile that will grow as the night continues, each registered item verified and recorded, waiting to be transferred at the next station or carried through to the final sorting office. The pen is lifted again, dipped again, the excess tapped away. His hand returns to the ledger, to the signature column, and he writes his name in the same careful script, the letters flowing one into the next, forming the familiar shape that authorizes and confirms. The final stroke is completed, and he sets the pen down once more. The second registered item is already in his hand, a smaller envelope, brown paper, sealed with black wax. The process begins again. Number recorded. Origin transcribed. Destination written. Description noted. Seal examined. Found intact. Envelope placed on the growing stack. Signature added. The train's wheels maintain their steady rhythm beneath the floor, a constant backdrop of sound and sensation. His body sways with the motion, his feet adjusting stance without thought, his hands remaining steady as they move between inkwell and ledger, between envelope and stack. Another item, another entry. The nib scratches softly. The ink darkens and dries. The columns fill, line by line, each entry a small monument to procedure, to care, to the quiet authority of record-keeping. The lamplight holds steady. The page turns when one is filled, revealing the next blank sheet, the next set of waiting columns. His hand dips the pen, taps away excess, begins again. The stack beside the ledger grows taller. The label on the third pigeonhole from the left has curled at one corner, the paste loosened perhaps by warmth or time, or the constant vibration that travels through every surface of the carriage. The white paper lifts slightly from the wood, creating a small shadow beneath it, and he reaches up to press it back into place. His thumb applies gentle pressure, smoothing from the center outward, coaxing the adhesive to grip again. The paper is stiff beneath his touch, and when he removes his thumb, the corner stays flat for a moment before beginning to lift again, slowly, stubbornly. He moves to the small cupboard built into the wall near the door, opening it to reveal shelves holding supplies, string, sealing wax, spare nibs, and a tin of paste. The paste tin is round and shallow, its lid slightly dented. He unscrews it, revealing the thick white substance inside, and uses his finger to collect a small amount, barely enough to coat the tip. The paste is cool and smooth, faintly tacky, and he carries it back to the sorting frame. The corner of the label lifts easily when he touches it, and he applies the paste to the wood beneath, spreading it thinly, evenly. Then he presses the paper down again, holding it for a slow count, feeling the paste begin to take hold. When he releases the pressure, the corner remains flat, adhered properly, and he wipes the excess paste from his finger onto a cloth kept for this purpose, the fabric already stained with previous use. His eyes travel along the sorting frame, checking each label in turn. Most are secure, their edges tight against the wood, but one near the bottom right shows a small tear where the paper has worn thin. He does not replace it. The text is still legible, the label still functional, but he makes a mental note of which pigeonhole it marks, filing the information away for later attention if needed. The leather strap that secures one of the larger mail sacks has worked itself loose, the buckle no longer tight against the canvas. The sack leans slightly, its weight pulling against the weakened hold, and he kneels beside it, his hands finding the strap's end. The leather is old and supple, darkened by oil and handling, and he threads it back through the buckle, pulling it snug. The buckle's prong slides into a hole worn smooth by repeated use, and he feels the resistance as the leather compresses, as the strap takes up the slack. The sack straightens, held firmly now against the wall, The work table bears traces of his earlier work, small smudges where his hand has rested near the inkwell, a faint thumbprint in black at the edge where he turned the ledger's page. He returns to the cupboard and retrieves a clean cloth. The fabric is folded into quarters, and he shakes it out, letting it open to its full size. He wipes the table's surface in long, even strokes, moving from left to right, the cloth collecting the ink residue, lifting it away from the wood. The table is old, its finish worn down to bare grain in some places, and the cloth catches slightly on the rougher patches, requiring a gentler touch. He adjusts his pressure, letting the fabric glide smoothly, and the smudges disappear, leaving only clean wood behind, dark and honest, and ready for the next task. The cloth is folded again, the soiled portions turned inward, and he sets it aside for washing when the opportunity comes. 3 canvas sacks sit in the forward corner of the carriage, positioned where they will receive sorted mail as the night progresses. The train's motion has caused one to shift, its base no longer aligned with the others, and he crosses to them, bending to grip the sack's bottom corners. The canvas is heavy grade, rough under his palms, and he lifts slightly, repositioning the sack so it sits square and stable, its mouth held open by the metal frame, ready to receive bundles. The other 2 sacks are checked as well. One requires a minor adjustment, shifted an inch to the left so its frame does not press against the wall at an angle. The third sits correctly and needs nothing. He tests each one with a gentle push, ensuring they will not tip or slide when the train takes a curve, when the motion becomes more pronounced. The carriage around him holds its order. Labels secure, straps tight, surfaces clean, sacks positioned. The train rocks beneath, wheels singing their constant song, and everything within this wooden space remains steady, prepared, ready for the work that continues through the darkness beyond the windows, through the hours that stretch ahead without marker or measure. His hands rest briefly at his sides, then reach for the next bundle of letters waiting on the table. The lamp nearest the work table has begun to dim, the flame drawing lower as the wick settles deeper into the oil reservoir. The light it casts has grown softer, more amber, the edges of its glow no longer reaching as far across the sorting frame, and the pigeonholes at the periphery have fallen into deeper shadow. He sets down the bundle of letters he has been holding and turns his attention to the lamp. The brass base is warm when his fingers close around it, not hot, but holding heat from the hours of burning, radiating it gently outward. He lifts the lamp from its hook, feeling its weight. The oil inside shifts slightly, a liquid motion within the metal body, and carries it to the work table, setting it down with care. The glass chimney rises above the base, clear and clean, the flame visible within, flickering just slightly with the movement. There's a small brass key on the side of the lamp, fitted to a mechanism that raises and lowers the wick. He turns it slowly, feeling the resistance of the gear teeth, the measured click as each rotation engages. The wick rises, emerging from the oil, and the flame responds immediately, growing taller, brightening, the yellow-orange glow intensifying as more wick surface is exposed to air. He stops turning when the flame reaches the height he wants. Not too high, which would produce smoke and waste oil, but high enough to push the light outward, to reclaim the space that shadow had begun to fill. The flame steadies, adjusting to its new fuel supply, and the light spreads across the table in a widening circle. The wood of the work table catches the increased glow first, the grain becoming more visible, the worn patches showing their texture more clearly. Then the light reaches the sorting frame, illuminating the pigeonholes, revealing the letters stacked within, the white and cream envelopes bright against the dark wood. The labels grow easier to read, their text sharp and defined, and the brass fittings along the frame gleam softly, reflecting the lamplight in small points of brilliance. The warmth follows the light, slower but perceptible. He can feel it beginning to reach his hands where they rest on the table's edge. A gentle increase in temperature that soaks into his skin, into his knuckles and wrists. The sensation is gradual, building so subtly that it seems less like warming and more like the absence of coolness, a softening of the air that had been neutral and is now faintly kind. His wrists absorb the warmth, and it travels up his forearms in slow degrees, loosening muscles that had tightened without his notice, easing tension held in tendons and joints from the repetitive motions of sorting, of writing, of lifting and placing. He does not move his hands closer to the lamp, does not seek more heat than what arrives naturally, but simply allows the warmth to find him, to settle into his flesh as it will. The train rocks through a gentle curve, and he shifts his weight from his left foot to his right, easing the pressure that has accumulated in his left knee, in the arch of his foot. The floorboards give slightly beneath the transfer, absorbing his weight and distributing it through their length, and his right leg accepts the burden without strain, the muscles adjusting, compensating. He stands this way for a moment, then shifts again, returning some weight to the left, finding a balance that asks less of either leg. His breathing has found a rhythm that matches the motion of the carriage, not consciously, but through the body's natural inclination to synchronize with its environment. Each inhalation comes as the carriage rocks to the right, each exhalation as it returns to center and begins its sway to the left. The pattern is gentle, unforced, and it creates a sense of harmony between interior and exterior, between the air moving in and out of his lungs and the train moving forward through the night. The lamp burns steadily now, its flame neither rising nor falling, consuming oil at a constant rate, producing light and warmth in unwavering measure. The glass chimney is clear, the flame protected from drafts, and the brass key remains untouched, its adjustment complete. The warmth continues to radiate outward, reaching not just his hands now but his chest, his face, the places where clothing does not fully shield skin from the cooler air of the carriage. The sensation is subtle but present, a quiet comfort that simply exists as a consequence of flame and proximity. The train maintains its rhythm beneath his feet. The wheels sing and the lamp glows. His breathing continues in slow, even measures, and the warmth settles into him like a second skin, like belonging, like the particular peace that comes from small adjustments made well, from light restored, from the body finding ease within motion. He stands near the work table, his hands resting on its surface, palms down, fingers slightly spread. The wood beneath them is smooth and cool, familiar, and he can feel the vibration of the train traveling through it. A steady thrumming that enters through his palms, moves up through his wrists, disperses somewhere in his forearms. The sensation is constant and unchanging, a low frequency that exists at the edge of awareness, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, simply present. His weight is distributed evenly between both feet, and the gentle rocking of the carriage moves through him without resistance. Left, then right, right, then left. The rhythm is slow, predictable, and his body sways with it, making small adjustments that require no thought, no decision. The floor supports him. The motion carries him. He stands within it, part of it. The lamplight wavers slightly as the carriage tilts, the flames inside their glass chimneys responding to the shift in level, leaning one direction and then recovering, settling back to vertical as the floor returns to center. The light spreads and contracts with these movements, shadows lengthening along the sorting frame and then shortening again, a slow pulse that marks the passage of motion without marking time. Beyond the walls, the rails sing. The sound is muffled by wood and distance, but it penetrates nonetheless, a rhythmic clatter that rises and falls in pitch as wheels cross the joins between sections of track. Metal on metal, impact and release, over and over. A percussion that never ceases, that continues whether listened to or ignored, whether attended to or allowed to fade into the background hum of existence. The lamplight catches on the brass fittings of the sorting frame, small points of reflection that hold steady despite the gentle motion. The glass inkwell gleams faintly. The leather cover of the ledger, closed now and resting at the edge of the table, shows a soft sheen where light falls across its worn surface. His hands remain on the table, unmoving. There is no tension in them, no grip. They simply rest, making contact, feeling the smooth wood, the vibration, the slight warmth that has accumulated in the surface from proximity to the lamp. His fingers are relaxed, curved naturally, and the lamplight illuminates them from the side, casting small shadows between knuckles, highlighting the lines and creases of skin. The train rocks. The wheels turn. The lamps burn. He lifts his gaze from the table to the sorting frame, though his eyes do not focus on any particular pigeonhole, any specific label. They rest instead on the whole of it, the dark wood, the organized rows, the accumulated letters waiting in their designated spaces. The frame is solid, and it does not shift with the motion, does not sway. It remains fixed while everything else moves around it, a point of stillness within constant gentle movement. His breath moves through him. The vibration moves through the table, through his hands, through the bones of his arms. The lamplight shifts and steadies. The rails continue their distant song, rhythmic and unending. marking distance, covered in increments too small to perceive individually, too numerous to count. The carriage holds him. The motion carries him. The night continues beyond the windows, unseen in darkness. And the train moves through it, pulling this space and everything within it forward, onward, through miles that accumulate without announcement, without ceremony. His hands rest on the table. The lamp burns. The wheels sing their iron song, and the rails receive them, and the distance grows behind while the distance ahead remains unchanged. Infinite, waiting.